Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening. Just wanted to go ahead and go into a few things. I may not um, be perfect, but I will go into as much as that I know. Um, so I know some people are not really, there are some people who are, and they kind of already know about, they've heard about conspiracy theories. They've heard about the deep state. They've heard about Freemasonic Brotherhood, the Illuminati, and aliens, and um, all these different theories that people come up with. And as crazy as it sounds, there's I'm not saying that all of it is true, but what I'm saying is there may be some truth to some of the things that seem to be like they're crazy conspiracy theories. So the only thing that I know for sure is I really do believe that there is an entity or superpowers, people who are higher up than the president, that control government, that control what goes on. And a lot of people will refer to it as double government or the deep state. And so I had got cut off a little earlier, so just bear with me. So a deep state of mind. This is an article. It was back in October of 2016 by a John Whitehead, and it goes America's shadow government and its silent coup. And so it goes into today the path of a total dictatorship in the US can be laid by a strictly legal means, unseen and unheard by Congress and the president or the people. Outwardly, we have a constitutional government. We have operating within our government and political systems a well organized political action group in this country determined to destroy the Constitution and establish a one party state. So it goes on to say that the important point to remember about this group is not its ideology, but its organization. It operates secretly, silently, and continuously to transform the government. This group is it is answerable neither to the president, the Congress, nor the courts. It's practically irremovable. Senator William Jenner, 1954 speech. Okay. So unaffected by elections, unaltered by populist movements, beyond the reach. It's a corporatized, militarized, entrenched bureaucracy that is fully operational and staffed by unelected officials who are, in essence, running the country. The shadow government represents a hidden face of the government that has no respect for the freedoms of its citizenry. So, no matter which candidate wins in the presidential election, the shadow government is here to stay. Indeed, as recent documents by the FBI reveal, the shadow government, also referred to as the Seventh Floor Group, it may well have played a part in who will win the White House this year. Okay, so that was then in 2016. So we know who won in terms of the president, and so we're dealing with that now. So to go on, it says, to be precise, however, the future president will actually inherit not one but two shadow governments. The first shadow government is referred to as the COG, which is continuity of government, and it's made up of unelected individuals who have been appointed to run the government in the event of a catastrophe. So the COG is a phantom menace waiting for the right circumstances like a terrorist attack, natural disaster, economic meltdown to bring it out of the shadows. Whereas to operate even now, it operates now. So when and if the COG takes over, the police state will transition to martial law. Yet there's a second group, which is the second shadow government. It also is referred to as what we have, some of us know, to be as the deep state that poses the greater threat to freedom right now. And it's compromised of unelected government bureaucrats, corporations, contractors, paper pushers, and button pushers who are actually calling the shots behind the scenes. This government within the government, which is like a double government, is the real reason we, the people, have no real control over our government. The deep state, which operates according to its own compass, heading regardless of whom is formally in power. It makes a mockery of elections and an entire concept of the representative government. So, who or what is the deep state? Okay. It's a militarized police which have joined forces with the state and federal law enforcement agencies in order to establish themselves as a standing army. Its fusion centers and spy agencies that have created surveillance state and turned all of us into suspects. It's the courthouses and the prisons that have allowed corporate profits to take precedence over due process and justice. It's the military empire with its private contractors, defense industries that is bankrupting the nation. It's the private sector, 854,000 contract personnel with the top secret clearances, a number of greater that the top secret cleared civilian employees of the government. So it's what's former congressional staff Mike Longren refers to as a hybrid in national security and law enforcement agencies: the Department of Defense, the Statement of the Department, the Homeland Security, the CIA, the Justice Department, Treasury, Executive Office, President, by way of the National Security Council, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, a handful of vital federal trial courts, and members of the Defense Intelligence Committees. It's every facet of the government that is no longer friendly to freedom and is working overtime to trample the Constitution underfoot and render the citizenry powerless in the face of the government. And this is the hidden face of the American police state that will continue long past Election Day. Just consider some of the key programs, policies advanced by the shadow government that will continue no matter who occupies the Oval Office, which I really do believe that this superpower or these superpowers do exist. We're seeing it in real time. So domestic surveillance, no matter who wins the presidential popularity contest, national security, which is NSA, with its 10.8 billion Black Ops annual budget, will continue to spy on every person in the US who uses a computer or a phone. Thus, on any given day, whether you are walking through the store, driving your car, checking your email, or talking to your friends, family on the phone, you can be sure that the government agency, the NSA, or some entity is listening and is tracking your behavior. So local police have been outfitted with a litany of surveillance gear, from license plate readers to cell phone tracking devices and biometric data recorders. Technology now has it makes it possible for the police to scan passerbys in order to detect the contents of their pockets, purses, briefcase, etc. Full body scanners, which perform virtual strip searches of Americans traveling by plane, have gone mobile with the roving police vans and peer into the vehicles and buildings alike, including homes, coupled with the nation's growing network of real-time surveillance cameras, facial recognition software. Soon, there really will be nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. So there's global spying. It goes on and on. The NSA's massive surveillance network, the Washington Post refers to the $500 billion espionage empire that will continue to span the globe and target every single person on the planet who uses a phone or a computer. And so, haven't we heard? I'm stopping for a minute. Haven't we heard where some people won't even, like if you have that little camera on your computer, some people will turn it away from them because they fear that somebody can actually look at you through those. And, if you have like your cell phone that people can actually hear your conversations, of course they can. Um, a lot of people there are a lot of people that are awakening to this, and then there's some few people who really don't believe that this is possible. They don't believe it until it happens to them, basically. So the American taxpayer will continue to get ripped off by the government agencies and in the dubious name of national security. One of the greatest culprits when it comes to swindling taxpayers has been Transportation Security Administration, which is the TSA, which is questionable deployment and complete mismanagement of millions of dollars worth of airport full body x-ray scanners. Men, they have pat downs, punitive pat downs by TSA agents and thefts of travelers' valuables. Considered is essential to national security, the TSA programs will continue in the airports and at transportation hubs around the country. So it goes on and on and on to talk about the militarized police state. So I'll leave the article, which I really do believe hits home. I'll leave the article, or I'll leave a copy of the article under this video. But I was looking at an entity called the Trilateral Commission, and the Trilateral Commission has everything to do with the Rockefellers. And it's like a think tank, and they meet and they talk about issues dealing with what they call as non-governmental, but I believe it has something to do with government. I'm jumping around here, so bear with me. Okay. The Trilateral Commission, it has membership about 390 people, and it is a non-governmental policy-oriented forum that brings together leaders in individual capacity from the worlds of business, government, academia, press, and media, and well-civilized or civil society. A commission that offers global platform to open dialogue, reaching out to those with different views and engaging with decision makers from around the world to aim at finding solutions to great geopolitical and economic social challenges of our time. Its members share a firm belief in the values and the rules of democratic government, human rights, freedoms of speech, free enterprise, and underpin human progress. Members also are committed to supporting the rules based on international systems, closure cooperations according to borders, and respect to the diversity of approaches to policy issues. And so when I looked at this, I also found that this had to do with the Rockefellers. And so, okay. Okay, so our trilateral commission, there's the symbol. I don't know if you can see it. It has the three arrows. Jimmy Carter, and then there's a name that I cannot pronounce, but it begins with a Z, so it's Z Big New Brzezinski. So it is more than 390 members, and it was founded July 1973. And so the Rockefellers have everything to do with this. It has there's also the Club of Rome, the Council of Foreign Relations, Lucis Trust. There's lots of different little organizations they meet and make like really big decisions. And so there's more than these little think tanks that people know. And there's a European group, there's a North American region, um, where they're involved. There's the membership that when the Trilateral Commission first launched, they have like this missionary, like sort of like a statement. It tells you about what their entity is, what they're involved is. Their quota North American group is 120, including 20 Canadian members and 13 Mexican members and 87 US members. And so it also has a Japanese group, which is 85 members that expanded in 2000 and became a Pan-Asian group. So now it includes 100 members from Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and original 5 Asian countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, India, and then Peoples of Republic of China. And there's the triannuum participants of Hong Kong, Taiwan, that also have participated in the group. So the group has changed its name to Asia Pacific Group in 2012. So all this stuff is going on, and I don't think people, some may know about this, some people don't even realize that there's all these entities, you know. So what, like I read about the shadow government does exist, I believe. So, they try to blow it off as some of these things are conspiracies, but we are seeing a lot of things happening. Um, it's a family of conspiracy theories, they claimed. It's based on the notion that the real and actual political power resides not within publicly elected representatives or officials like Donald Trump and Obama, but private individuals, people behind the scenes, rather, who are exercising power behind the scenes beyond the scrutiny of democratic institutions, which I do believe it is happening, because we're seeing more and more articles come out about it, and there's a lot of things going on. So according to the belief, the official elected government's subservient to the shadow government, which is a true executive power. Shadow government's theories often propose the government is secretly controlled by foreign elements. Now, this is where it gets crazy, because some people think this can't be true. So I don't know if you've seen some of the crazy videos or videos where people get deep off into alien or alien life forms. So these are some of the entities that they feel that may be involved with the shadow government as well as aliens, the Vatican, Jesuits, internal minorities such as the Jews, the moneyed interests, the central banks, the Freemason and Masonic Brotherhood, globalist elites, supranational organizations that seek to manipulate policy and conquer the world. And so when some people do the videos, they sound far-fetched because they start talking about how people are like aliens, or there's aliens taking over the world. And so, the popular television show, The X-Files, sort of like kind of is a mask in that whole conspiracy thing. But I don't really know about the alien thing. I do believe that there may be alien life forms, maybe we're not aware of. I believe there are a lot of secrets that aren't revealed to the general population for fear of masses uh, hysteria and people being afraid. A lot of things aren't told to us, but more often you get people who will talk about it on their videos, more popularized, like Alex Jones. Some of the other people here, like William Guy Carr, Jim Mars, Carol Quigley, Dan Smoot, Michael A. Hoffman, David Icke, if I'm saying it right. So they talk about, like all of the different things that I just mentioned. And some people are more charismatic when they deliver their their input about. I will say this, as far as I'm concerned, I do believe that there are people that are behind the scenes that are operating things that we have no knowledge of or that we can't control. And so that's why I say you really can't, even though some people may not like Donald Trump, some people may not have liked Obama, and other presidents may like the president more than they liked another president, or disliked a president more so than they felt about a previous president. A lot of these elected officials, I don't really believe that they run all of everything. They're really just playing the part. And we are the people. We're really like not really in total control, because it's gotten out of control, because there are like superpower entities. And superpower, what I mean is people who are elites, who have lots of money, people who basically own a lot, run a lot, control a lot, and they pretty much call the shots. And you have people who will pay to put people in power. So this is like a little depiction here of the Freemasonic Brotherhood intelligence agencies, which is a whole pyramid. It goes even deep into also the pedophilia that goes on. They fear that that there's this pedophile ring that goes on, and these people, that it's sort of like the Illuminati elites, where people are into more deeper, darker, sinister practices having to do with black magic rituals and pedophilia, and basically like selling your soul to the devil. They have all these non-Masons entities down here, but the real elites and intelligence up here are like a secret society network that's intrinsically interwoven in all the levels of structure, like banking, business, mass media, religion, medical, pharmaceutical industry, illegal drug running, distribution, organized crime. And, you know, all these entities, they feel, are involved in all of this conspiracy. Uh, it's also think tanks, which what I was talking about. There's these think tanks, pretty much people who call the shots, the manipulators of the masses, which the masses is all of us, poor people, working class people, people who really don't have much of a voice. You're just living in the society, and you're just really trying to, you know, live your life. And we're more concerned about some of the surface issues, like, you know, whenever you see these things that come up, oh, who Donald Trump slept with, and you know, who did this on TMZ, and you know, all these little things, or what celebrities wearing what clothes, this gang's gonna come after this person. Those are like deflectors. Those are things that kind of steer you in another direction, so you don't think about some of the major key players in society that pretty much help to corrupt things and create some of these things that we have, as the people, have no control over, and they pretty much call the shots and dominate over everyone else. So you have worldwide intelligence agencies, Scotland Yard, the UK, MOD, you have Metropolitan Police, the Interpol, the US National Security, CIA, FBI, DOD, DEA. And then you have Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms Bureau, you know, the NRA, a Federal Emergency Management at the top. We're basically running everything, running the show, and they call them the Illuminati. And so there's a lot of like depictions of this, even as in the dollar bill. People who worship money, people who worship power, people who worship running the world and seem and sound to some people, they're not so much far-fetched. Um, And then if you get into other issues, you go into like the NSA workers, you know, a former group of workers whistleblowing. You know, I know some people have heard of that. You know, we've had crackdowns on whistleblowers from the leaks. You know, there's people that do leaking, like that whole Russian collusion and the thing with Hillary Clinton that happened, where they kept checking her email messages and what have you, and they wanted to know what was going on, and if there was any collusion with some of these people now that are in government. And so there's a lot going on. I do believe, I won't even go into that. You can look it up, you can read about it. Um, Two, it's kind of sketchy to go into that because hey, I don't know who's looking at me just saying this, but the thing is that I really do believe there are other entities that are involved in government, that are involved in our world that we have no control over. And we're just basically living here, and everybody is really underfoot and toe. It's like you never know what could happen from one day to the next. There's a lot of political issues that are going on, and it seems like the world is being turned upside down. Every day we find that there's an issue with, Black politics, with um, foreign government, with, you know, um, ICE, with uh, some of the things that have happened even from the past, 9/11. People are not sure if there's some bad actors that were involved in that, if something's being hidden with that whole issue. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is. I really do think that there was something funny about the day when the 9/11 thing happened, and President Bush, or he was sitting there and he was reading to a group of kids in classroom, and as they told him what was going on, he didn't really act quickly. So we don't really know what all is going on. There's a lot of things that are going on that have gone on even before, prior to what's happening now. I just think now it's just out in the open. Deflectors, and what I mean by deflectors, things that swerve our attention, is like, oh, there's another Donald Trump affair. Oh, there's another woman he slept with. Think about it. Back when Bill Clinton was president, there was the Monica Lewinsky uh, scandal. Not say anything, but it did come out, and so there's a whole lot behind that. I remember that it just didn't stay out of the media. It was in there constantly, and I think she even got a book deal behind that whole incident. And so, for those of you that I must be telling my age, that don't know about the Monica Lewinsky incident with Bill Clinton. It was an intern that worked in the White House with Bill Clinton at the time, and basically she was involved or engaged in an oral sexual uh, affair with Bill Clinton, and it got out somehow. But I believe she was paid to stay silent about it, and then eventually it came out. And so this is before all this Me Too stuff that you're hearing about, the Me Too movement. And so there's there's a lot of things that have happened, trust me, way before all of that, that were like big deals back then. So that's why I was, amazed how some of these young people, I know some of them, they were probably in diapers real little, didn't really know anything about all of this, but a lot of these things that you're seeing are really repeats. It's just new people doing it, but now it's gotten so far out of control that we are not really in control of what really goes on. I think a lot of it too does boil down to money. Um, like they say, the deep state. Um, there are also speculations around how Donald Trump got elected. They feel like there was Russian meddling, and that's why there's so much right now about the whole um, i- the Russian thing, where they're intervening in American government where they shouldn't be. And so they fear that there's been a lot of collusion, a lot of lies, which is not unlikely. It's not uncommon that that has happened. It's happened in the past, even with the as far back as the Nixon thing. I know this sounds really deep for some of you, but I'm just like really entrenched in a lot of political stuff. But I I usually like I do a lot of studying and stuff like that, so I don't really get into too deep. I try not to, but even with this terrorism, that brings about issues around surrounding money, you know, where they have to spend a lot of money on this whole thing behind terrorism, and surveillancing. It also opens regular civilians up to being surveillance. Some people are willing to be surveillance, but they don't know what they're doing. You're opening your whole life up. I even think even the libraries are involved. When they started putting those strips on the library cards, and back then, I don't know if people realize this, but they have your social security number, and once they have that, they have your whole life. And so there's really, it's true, there's nowhere to hide. They can find you. You're not invincible. So um, there's a lot involved in this. So I'll just try to leave uh, a copy of this right here. Um, and I'm copying it as we speak. But yeah, I really do believe, as far as I'm concerned, I believe there is a such thing as the deep state. Yeah. So I'm like kind of in between. There's some things that I agree with in terms of the right wing. There's some things I agree with in terms of democratic left wing politics. But then there's some things that are really sketchy. And so I don't really believe um, that everyone tells the truth on either side. I believe that they all have an agenda, and it's always not always the best, even on the Democratic side. Sometimes the things they come up with are just ridiculous, like, if we got to follow the rules, then why are you trying to make provision for people who are doing something illegal? So now you're going to make a law over a law to combat a law about legality issues. What's up with that? So I'm just saying, I don't always agree with democratic policies as well, but there, it's come to a head in this world where some of these issues are like far reaching, even for regular civilians to wrap their hands around. It's like contemplating on, you're wavering. Okay, what do you call yourself when you're down the middle of the line, or you don't believe in anybody, you don't trust anybody, but which one benefits me, where I'm down the middle of the road of these issues? But yeah, I have to say that the way things are going, and I feel like this whole thing with this mistress that is supposedly got hush money, and she slept with Donald Trump while he was married. I feel like that's a deflector. That's something they're throwing in there because they don't want you to want to learn more about the Russian meddling and collusion, and how that whole thing plays into it, because it's getting too close around those issues. And then you got the immigration stuff, and then the DACA stuff. And I, we're almost, March 5th is almost here, almost. And, I don't know if you really paid attention, but did you see in the White House where all those people were gathering? And it started off, it was like a little huddle of people, and they had their signs and they were chanting and everything. But the crowd has grown. And so I feel like something else is going to go down, and it ain't going to be pretty. Um, I don't know that they'll ever come to an agreement of anything that is going to be democratic, and it's going to be to the liking of people. It's at this point in time, it just seems like the clock is ticking, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was another uprising, like right there, where they're making the decisions, and that people just finally just give in and cave in, and that next thing you know, they're going to have high security and militarized police carting folks out of there and arresting people. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that goes down, but I'm just, it's like foresight. But anyway, with that being said, yeah, I believe that there is a such thing as double government. I believe there's a deep state. There are people that are high elites that pretty much call the shots. And that's why people, you got to learn when you come here from somewhere else that there are other entities that are at play here. So it's not just the president. I know a lot of people are not. There are some people that aren't happy with the way things are going, but you got to realize that there's a bigger players here that are involved, and they pretty much call the shots. So whatever decision he comes up with, he can't do too much over what someone else is doing behind the scenes. So that's pretty much the way this goes here, and it's an unfortunate situation, but there's nothing that can be done about it. So you have to just deal with it as it comes. So with that being said, I am going to sign off. But hopefully you'll have a good weekend and enjoy your weekend. And thank you for listening.